Money in the Bank starts off with the men's ladder match between Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, Chad Gable, LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, and Andrade. This was a very solid men's Money in the Bank ladder match. It was a very solid match. Very interesting and cool spots. We had a six spot where Andrade did a springboard leg drop onto Chad Gable, who was on a ladder. We had another spot where Carmelo ended up doing a springboard clothesline on Andrade, who was also on a ladder, climbing the ladder. That was very sick. Then we had a very sick spot where Andrade ended up doing like a springboard Spanish fly on Carmelo Hayes onto a ladder. They had very interesting spots here. We later in the match we had a quick sequence where Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre they ended up having a little brawl with their history. Then eventually that ended up getting broken up. Later on, Jey Uso and LA Knight ended up eventually double teaming Drew McIntyre. Then they both end up hitting their finishers. LA Knight ends up hitting the BFT. Jey Uso ends up hitting the Uso splash. Then we had a very sick spot towards the end of the match. Andrade was on the on the ladder, and I think Carmelo Hayes was on the ladder as well. LA Knight was right behind Andrade, and LA Knight ends up pushing Andrade, which leads into a sunset powerbomb onto a ladder that was like a bridge onto the ladder that they was climbing onto like the middle rope. That was very sick. Then we got Chad Gable gets in the ring. He's fighting LA Knight. He gets the upper hand. He ends up doing a backdrop on LA Knight onto another ladder that was on the outside. That was a bridge to the ring apron all the way to the announce table. Then Chad Gable, he climbs the ladder. He's about to almost win. Jey Uso ends up pushing him off the ladder, but Chad Gable was hanging onto the briefcase. He is hanging on. He is hanging on with nothing to support his legs at all. He's just hanging in the air, but he eventually falls down. He can't hang on to it. Jey Uso ends up hitting a spear, gets a ladder, climbs up the ladder. It looks like he's about to win Money in the Bank. They pan the camera all close to his face. It looks like he's about to win, but Drew McIntyre comes in, throws a ladder onto Jey Uso, throws it in his face. Jey Uso falls off. Then he hits a Claymore on Jey Uso, climbs the ladder, and Drew McIntyre is your new Money in the Bank, which doesn't last long. What happens later in the show. This was a good match. Very shocked that Drew McIntyre won, but he was my second pick anyway. He wouldn't be the person I would have picked, but I understand why they did it with what they end up doing later on in the show. But this was a good Money in the Bank ladder match. This was really good. A lot of people didn't like that Drew McIntyre won, especially depending on what happened later on in the show, which we're going to get to later in the video. But man, yeah, this was a solid ladder match. I enjoyed this ladder match. Next, we get Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn. Now, this match right here, I'm kind of disappointed. This match is not bad by any means. It wasn't bad. It was a good show. It was a good match. But I expected more, and the way they ended it was kind of confusing. Because I'm not going to speak too much on this match, because there were some interesting spots that I liked. It was one crazy spot that Braun Breaker did where he did this clothesline off the ring apron where Sami was out the announce table, where he jumped off the ring apron, did a clothesline onto Sami onto the announce table, which I thought was sick. But that ended up being his unfortunate doing because they ended up playing a story with Braun Breaker having a leg injury, of course. Sami Zayn kind of did what he typically does, and I like Sami Zayn, but it's kind of getting a little wild with him constantly doing this underdog thing where he constantly gets beat up and then he just hulks up and just overcomes the odds. Now, me personally, I don't mind it, but I kind of feel like they could have just done something better with Braun Breaker in this situation. It didn't make sense for Braun Breaker to lose. I'm not going to say easy because they played a leg injury, but I feel like they should have played up more of Braun being more dominant in this match. He was dominant in parts of this match, but there was also a lot of parts where Sami just kept on overcoming the odds and just hulking up. And after Sami won this match, I kind of knew what was going to happen later on during the show, during the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, because I was like, once Sami won, that kind of confirmed who was going to win the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. But this was a good match, but a bit disappointing. Sami ends up overcoming the odds. I think Braun Breaker would be fine. I think people need to calm down. He's not buried or anything. He will be fine. He's probably going to get a rematch at SummerSlam at some type of triple threat or fatal four-way or another 1v1 match. But Braun Breaker probably will eventually win that title. I don't know when, but he probably would. But I also said the same thing about Chad Gable, so who knows. But this is a good match, but a bit disappointing. Now, we get a surprise return. We get John Cena. John Cena comes out. Trish Stratus ends up introducing him. I popped, man. I was so excited. John Cena is my favorite wrestler of all time. He's my GOAT. He comes out and he delivers some unfortunate news that we all knew would come one day, but it's still sad, especially for me. John Cena announced his retirement. He announced that he's going to retire, but he's going to have, but he will have basically a retirement tour. He said the 2025 Royal Rumble, he will be there, which will be his last. Elimination Chamber 2025 will be his last, and WrestleMania 41 will be his last. This raises a lot of questions because it raises what he's going to do. Is he going to be on TV more? Is he going to win a championship? Because you could have him be a Grand Slam champion, have an IC run, and then have him feud with someone at Mania for the IC title. You could easily just have him just be what he's been doing, just have one-off feuds, and then his last feud can just be something memorable. Who will be his retirement match? I think the obvious choice is Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton or CM Punk, that's the only two people that makes logical sense to have a retirement match, to be honest. Edge would have been a good one, but he's in AEW. So there's not many people who I would say should really be in that retirement match. And this raises a lot of questions, like what should they do? Is he going to win? I highly doubt he's winning another world title, but IC title, I could kind of see. It, but I don't think they will. I think they're probably just going to build up towards his retirement match to who's going to be his last opponent. So that's very interesting to see how that plays out. But it's very sad news, but at the end of the day, it was going to happen eventually. John Cena is getting up there in age. He's not on WWE as much because, he's doing movies and stuff, not as in shape. So we all knew this was to come, but this is very sad news. I hope his retirement tour goes very well. I hope it's booked right. And it's crazy to think that we're going to live in a world where John Cena is not in the WWE anymore. That is crazy to think about. But yeah, John Cena retiring in 2025. I can't wait. At the same time, I don't want it to happen because John Cena is my favorite. It's going to be sad to see him go, but all good things must come to an end. But yeah, this is very interesting to see how they're going to book his retirement tour. Next, we get Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins. This was a really good match. Some interesting spots here. Now this is where I'm going to skip towards majority of the match because it really don't get important towards the end, if I'm being honest. Towards the end, well, later in the match, Seth Rollins ends up hitting the top rope suplex. Then he ends up doing the Falcon Arrow. He goes for the pin. And now this right here is where things get a little iffy because there was a botch here. Because Seth Rollins goes for the pin. The ref counts 1. He counts 2. Then he stops and don't count 3. Now, Damian Priest did not kick out. He didn't. Now, I'm going to blame Damian Priest here. I'm assuming Damian Priest just got winded or something because the referee could have easily counted 3, but he stopped because, of course, that wasn't planned. He was planning on Damian Priest to kick out, or he was planning on Drew McIntyre's music to pop up to play a little bit sooner. Because after this, Seth Rollins is confused. He's wondering what's going on. Drew McIntyre's theme music hit. His theme music hits. He's coming out, and he's coming to cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase. He cashes it in. Drew McIntyre tries to go for the Claymore. Seth reverses it, but then Drew McIntyre reverses Seth's move, hits a future shot DDT. Then you got Priest. He tries to attack Drew McIntyre, but Drew McIntyre gets the better of him. Drew McIntyre is about to continue to attack Damian Priest, but out of nowhere, CM Punk comes in and attacks Drew McIntyre. He attacks Drew McIntyre. They're brawling. They're all the way to the outside. Then CM Punk tosses Drew McIntyre over the barricade. He starts choking him out with the camera wires that's connected to the cameras and stuff. Then he ends up Then he takes a look at the World Heavyweight Championship. The World Heavyweight Championship. He takes a look at it. Then he takes it and attacks Drew McIntyre with it. Attacks Drew McIntyre with it, which leads to Damian Priest taking the advantage, hits the South to Heaven chokeslam, and picks up the victory and retains his World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this one is very iffy for me because the match is good. I know why they did it. The problem I have with this a little bit is because we kind of wasted a cash-in with Drew McIntyre. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are saying that, but my thing is I'm not as mad as I originally was, only because when I look at the Money in the Bank briefcase and who was in the ladder match, there's no one in that match that would have successfully cashed in on Gunther or Cody Rhodes. There's no one that would have done it. And every single person in that match outside of 2 people have a long-term story. For example, Drew McIntyre has a story with CM Punk. He didn't need the briefcase. Jey Uso will eventually be with the Bloodline. He's just going to be. It makes no sense for Jey Uso to win Money in the Bank with him having the briefcase in a Bloodline storyline because you have him in the Bloodline storyline, then he's just having the briefcase, but the storyline of the Bloodline is going to outshine the briefcase, so that's kind of pointless right there. And that feud right there with the Bloodline is going to last until Mania. That's just how it's going to go. Then you have Chad Gable, who's with the Wyatt Six. Now, you can say Wyatt Six won't be that long of a feud, but knowing Triple H's booking, that's going to last a long time. Like, I highly doubt that's going to last a month or two. That's going to last at least a good 4 to 5 months. So even that's going to be a while. Then you have LA Knight, who, not in a long-term feud, but he's fighting Logan Paul for the United States Championship. And I highly doubt any of us want him to see cash in on a mid-card title like Austin Theory. Now, he would be successful in cashing it in my opinion, but I don't think none of us sees it. So the only people who really could have done something was Andrade and Melo. I don't see Andrade elevating that highly off of Money in the Bank cash in. And Melo is interesting, but again, I don't see Melo cashing in on Cody or Gunther. So they was kind of booked into a corner with what they did here. Because I'm going to be honest, if Gunther wasn't at SummerSlam, I could have believed someone could have cashed in. Like, because I could believe someone cashing on Damian Priest. But Gunther, it's just hard to envision that. So they kind of booked themselves in a corner where Drew McIntyre was the only choice here. Because also, I think they also did this because they wanted to protect Seth Rollins. Because Damian Priest has not had a successful victory in terms of a clean win. Is someone always coming out to distract someone? So in order to do that, you kind of need CM Punk to interfere in this match, because you kind of needed Drew McIntyre to interfere as well, because who else would interfere in this match outside of maybe Finn Balor, but they didn't even play that angle. So if they wasn't going to do the Finn Balor angle, you kind of needed Drew McIntyre to interfere in this match, because I don't think Jey Uso would have done this in this situation, but he could have, but I don't think so. So you kind of need that, and I think they did it because Damian pinned Drew McIntyre in the match, which made it a triple threat, so this kind of protects Seth Rollins, which I think that's another reason why they did this angle, to protect Seth Rollins and because since no one else was going to really cash in successfully, might as well build up the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre feud. Now, it didn't need this at all because I don't think this made the feud better. It doesn't make it worse, but it didn't make it better either. So I understand when people say they wasted the cash in, but my argument is that no one who would have won the Money Bank briefcase this year on the men's side would have been elevated anyway because they wasn't going to be successful anyway. But that's my take on it. Next, we got the women's Money in the Bank ladder match between Naomi, Zoe Stark, Lyra, Tiffany, and Chelsea Green. Now, I'm going to be honest. When this match first started, I was not having high expectations because there was a lot of botches early on, but it actually picked up tremendously after the botches. But early on, it started off with Chelsea Green, being herself. They end up playing the story of Chelsea Green being afraid of heights. Early on, she was trying to climb the ladder, but she couldn't convince herself to do it. Then she ended up grabbing the ladder and tried to smack the briefcase off the hook, which I thought was hilarious. But we had some very sick spots. We had a spot where Lyra Valkyria ended up doing a sick, I don't know what type of slam she did, but she did some type of slam onto Io onto a ladder. Early on, Lyra ended up botching a tornado DDT, but she ended up doing a great recovery and still hitting the tornado DDT anyway. But she ended up botching it at first, but ended up recovering. Then we had a great Lyra Valkyria fisherman slam on Io Scott onto a ladder. Then Zoe Stark got into the mix. She starts attacking Lyra Valkyria, where she tries to hit I forgot the move that is called, but it's her signature springboard move where she hits the ropes and do a flip. While she did this, she tries to hit the flip onto Lyra, who was on a ladder, but she ended up hitting her head, which was crazy because I know that had to hurt. I was concerned because I know that has to hurt. Then Naomi comes in the ring. She takes advantage and she starts fighting Zoe. Then Tiffany Stratton comes in. She ends up attacking Naomi. She did a sick Alabama slam on Naomi onto a ladder. Then Ladders gets in the ring. Lyra Valkyria is climbing up the ladder. Io Sky ends up attacking Lyra Valkyria. But then Lyra Valkyria is hanging on the ladder. She's hanging on her legs is hanging on the ladder. Io ends up climbing over her, but as she's climbing over her, Lyra gets up, ends up suplexing Io Sky while she's hanging off the ladder, which I thought was crazy. Then we had a sick spot later in the match where actually this set up a spot later in the match where Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton ended up working together and ended up setting up some tables on the outside of the ring, which plays a major factor towards the end of the match. Because towards the end of the match, someone ends up going through it. Then we end up getting a sick, slam from Zoe Stark. She ends up slamming Lyra Valkyria on a bridge ladder that was connected to the middle rope and the ladder they was climbing on. Then there was a very sick ladder spot. The same thing again, where Io Sky ends up slamming Zoe Stark onto a ladder. She did like some type of power drive. I don't even know what it was because it was like some type of power driver or tombstone she did onto the ladder, which I thought was crazy. But after that, Chelsea Green is the only one in the ring. It looks like Chelsea Green was about to win. Right here, I knew not to get excited because of the way they was building it up. Because Chelsea Green was taking a long time to climb the ladder because she was trying to adjust it. And then as she was climbing, they did the thing again like they did with Jey Uso, where they pan the camera super close to the wrestler where you think they about to get it. She almost unhooks it, but I knew it was a failure because then she stopped unhooking the Money in the Bank briefcase. You see Tiffany Stratton climbs up, and the tables that I mentioned earlier, well, she ends up pushing Chelsea Green off the ladder. Chelsea Green falls all the way onto the tables that was set up earlier, and Tiffany Stratton is your new Miss Money in the Bank. This was great. This was a really great ladder match. Early on, I thought this was not going to be a good match, but this turned out to be a banger. This was the best match of the show, honestly. I'm happy that Tiffany Stratton won. She was the only other right choice. I'm upset that Chelsea Green didn't win, but I understand why. In my predictions, I kind of predicted that even though I wanted Chelsea to win, I knew Tiffany Stratton was going to win, especially after Sami Zayn winning. I knew there was no way Chelsea Green was going to win. But Tiffany Stratton should make a great Miss Money Bank. I can't wait for a Money in the Bank run. Now we get to the main event. Now this right here, this also disappointed me as well. I'm not going to speak too much on this match because I'm going to be honest. This match was just 80% of Bloodline being dominant, constantly preventing hot tags, and Jacob Fatu being the savior of this match. I'm going to be honest. Jacob Fatu and Kevin Owens saved this match. I'm just going to be honest. They saved this match. Because majority of this match was just Jacob Fatu constantly saving the Bloodline and then them constantly preventing the hot tag. But we get towards the end where Solo ends up trying to attack Cody, but then he ends up accidentally attacking the ref. Cody moves out the way. The ref is on the ground. He's knocked out. Cody ends up hitting a crossroads, but the ref is not there. So all the baby faces just end up doing their finishers on Solo. You got KO. He does the Swanton Bomb. Randy Orton ends up doing the RKO. Then they go to the outside. They're about to powerbomb Solo through the announce table, but Jacob Fatu makes another save. Jacob Fatu made like 5 saves in this match. There was so many times where the babyface was like about to like get an upper hand, was dominating, and then Jacob Fatu would just come in and save them. Like every single time. Like Jacob Fatu was like the only person that was like reliable on his team. It just felt like Solo and Tama Tonga was just useless. It just felt like Jacob Fatu was the only reliable person. But he ends up saving Solo Sikoa from going through the announce table. Then Kevin Owens ends up getting the upper hand on Jacob Fatu, puts him on the announce table, and ends up hitting a sick frostbags on the announce table. That was sick. Then we get Kevin Owens gets in the ring. He's fighting Tama Tonga. He's about to do some type of power driver, but Tonga Loa comes in the ring and ends up low blowing Kevin Owens, saving Tama Tonga. Then Randy Orton comes out of nowhere, RKO's Tonga Loa, and then he ends up RKOing Solo Sikoa. Then I think he didn't RKO Solo Sikoa. I think he RKO Tama Tonga as well. Then we get Solo Sikoa. He ends up spiking Randy Orton. Yeah. Randy Orton ends up, RKOing both the Tonga brothers. Then Solo Sikoa comes from behind and spikes Randy Orton. Then we get Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes comes in. He ends up cross-rolling Solo Sikoa. He did it 2 crossroads, about to go for the third one. But then Jacob Fatu comes out of nowhere, goes on the top rope. It is this like, I don't know what he did. It was like some type of backflip type maneuver that he did off the top rope. He basically hit like some type of splash on Cody Rhodes, saving Solo Sikoa once again. Then Solo Sikoa ends up spiking Cody Rhodes, and Solo Sikoa pins Cody Rhodes in the Bloodline win. This was a good match, but it was also disappointing. This year's Money in the Bank, it wasn't bad. I think it was good. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10, but some of the booking decisions and some of the matches could have been better if they just would have been executed different. But like I said, I think it was good. I think some people are overreacting to this pay-per-view because they didn't get the things that they wanted. This was still a good, solid pay-per-view. It just wasn't as good as I thought it could have been. The choices, I wasn't mad at the decisions. I was more mad at the matches. I just felt like the Braun and Breaker and Sami, that could have played out different. Same thing with this Bloodline match. I feel like you could have just done more with that. But overall, this was a good show. You guys let me know what you guys thought of Money in the Bank. Like I said, thought it was a good show, but a bit underwhelming. But you guys let me know what you guys thought. Let me know your opinions down below. Let me know what you guys would have changed. Let me know what you guys thought was wrong with this paper. But yeah, leave your opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.